Hello and welcome to this video about what it is currently like to be an ex-Eurovision fan. First things first, that word isn't entirely accurate, but it's the closest concise way I have of putting it right now. It is not true. I'm not really an ex-Eurovision fan, but that's the shortest way of describing it. I am, however, not covering and following the Eurovision 2026 contest actively or willingly. So why am I making this video? Well, I want to document what it's like because it feels like I'm going slightly insane. And I also am missing this space online anywhere. And maybe this is just a me problem, but I feel like maybe there are other people out there who are in a similar or the same boat. There is a live stream series, I believe, coming up called When Glitter Feels Heavy, which I will be linking below. That sounds like the kind of thing that I'll want to be seeing. Seeing as it's not happened yet, though, I want to be throwing my 2 cents in as well. And I'm opening up the comments to hopefully respectful discussion. I know that is probably not going to work out, but I'm missing this space online and I want to create it. I am expecting a mess in the comments if this video gets any traction at all, though. So keep in mind they might be getting moderated or deleted. And lastly, I want this state documented for myself to see what happens next year. I rather enjoy rewatching my Equinox videos and end of season videos to see what the vibe was like, so this feels like a mid-season or near the end of season video that is representative of the current year to me. I have this small platform, so I might as well use it for this to see if anyone else needs this discussion space or if it is just me. I am expecting this video to be very rambly, but I'll try and keep at least the start kind of structured, and maybe I'll include chapters to make it easier to navigate. And lastly, as a forward upfront disclaimer, I appreciate that this is trivial on a world scale, but I just need to get this off my chest. I need to get this out there because, as I say, I feel like I'm going slightly insane, and it is important to me. And if it's not important to you, that's okay. Just, this isn't the video for you then. So what is my current complete stance? I'm not following Eurovision 2026 because of Israel being allowed to continue participating and whitewashing their crimes and pinkwashing and whatever washing their crimes, while 5 countries have left Eurovision. It doesn't feel like Eurovision without them. Of course, there's always fluctuations between the countries, but the reason this year is a painful one. Fundamentally, I dislike genocide. I feel like that shouldn't be controversial, and I do not know why the line is here for me and not in 2024. I'm still trying to explore that. I wish it was 2024 very often, but it was not, and in some ways that's great because I got to have accreditation last year, for example, but in other ways I feel bad about having done that. I truly love Eurovision as a concept. It is so perfect for me on so many levels. I feel like I belong to no country. I feel truly European, and well, music has been a big part of my life for a very long time, for most of my memory. Not that I actively make music, but following it and getting really invested in it. And also the languages, of course, are a big help. I love languages. That's why I included the language game at the end of most of my longer interviews. So I'm truly fascinated by various European languages in particular. Eurovision as a concept has just been truly perfect for me the years that I have been able to enjoy it. To answer the main title question, the thumbnail question in one word, it is strange. The longer answer is I feel bad. I feel like I betray my morals every time I enjoy anything that has anything to do with Eurovision, even pre-2024. Even pre-October 7, 2023, anything to do with Eurovision. My favourite band of all time, Joker Out, who, by the way, are pretty much as actively pro-Palestine as a lot of artists are able to be or are willing to be. They are not the most pro-Palestine out there, obviously not Bambi Thug levels, but they have a song for Palestine, Sansa, and they have been part of Palestine fundraisers, and they're going to be on the 15th of May as well, so feeling bad about enjoying their stuff feels extra crazy given that. But Joker Out truly are some relatively good eggs when it comes to that. Oh, I hate that I just said good eggs, but whatever, we're keeping this take. I found them before they went to Eurovision, even enjoying their stuff. I sometimes feel bad about, which I feel like I shouldn't, but their ability to have a European fan base is like 99.999% because of them going to Eurovision. And hence their ability to do the things that they currently do. Butterfly effect or whatever, but I feel bad enjoying anything that has anything to do with Eurovision. It is also strange because I have loads, it feels like, of friends and acquaintances who are either regular Eurovision fans or content creators, pretty much all of whom are continuing on almost as if nothing is happening. And obviously I can never influence another grown adult's decisions. That's not my place. But it does feel strange. And a lot of the people who are going to Vienna seemed as mad as I was at the start of December after the General Assembly vote. And there's also people who are more mad than I was in December who are texting me updates about Eurovision, where I, in an ideal world, would not be following the 2026 contest at all. And I am, because of all these friends and acquaintances posting stuff. I did not feel it was appropriate to yet unfollow everybody, but that may be something I have to do for the 2027 season. So I know quite a lot about Eurovision 2026, more than any casual viewer for sure, less than I personally would currently if things were normal, but I do know a lot. I do also personally feel at least partially responsible for at least 5 people who are making various amounts, more or less, Eurovision content this year. Obviously not directly, they are their own people, but I answered a lot of their questions last season, and they have really gone pedal to the metal this year in various ways. And obviously I shouldn't be putting that guilt on myself, and it's stupid, I realise that. But it's also somewhere in the back of my head. And just to make it clear, I hold no truly ill will against any of the people going to Vienna. I am side-eyeing them, yes, but I realise that this is a strange situation for everyone, and my platform is much, much, much smaller than most of theirs. So I realise that the balance is different there as well. I also am currently making no money from YouTube or Instagram or anything. It is entirely a time investment and equipment investment and travel investment, and not at all any return. Whereas people who have a part, at least, of their livelihood dependent on it, and whose platform is bigger and feel like they can make a difference in some way, obviously that's a different way up. And while I want to believe and I want to say that I would not be going to Vienna if I was in their positions, I cannot guarantee that because that is not my reality. So I truly mean no disrespect to anyone right now. Maybe that will be different next year depending on how Vienna goes down, but right now I understand that the situation is strange for everyone. And there are people intending to make Vox Pop and pro-Palestine content while in Vienna. I want to see how it goes, but I personally just cannot. So I'm trying to make a, albeit invisible, statement by not going to Vienna as well, because I initially had booked almost 2 full weeks off of work to go to Vienna. In December, I then decided, okay, I'm going to reduce it, obviously, probably completely not go, but who knows. And I think at the end of March was when I actually removed my request for most of those holiday days. But it's been difficult, and I have considered, in the meantime, even since March, going to Vienna for a day trip or a weekend. Obviously, Hamburg and Vienna are not close enough for a typical day trip, but there is a night train connection, and I could have gone for about €60 round trip, which to me currently, thankfully, isn't that much money. I would have then maybe bought like one set of fries or a meal in Vienna and nothing else, because I wanted to see the vibes, kind of like I did for Malmö. I was worried what was going to happen in Malmö, so I only went the weekend before Eurovision, but there was still the vibes already in the city. I considered sort of doing that for Vienna and maybe not even telling anyone about it, doing it just for myself. But that still felt wrong. So I'm not doing that, I'm making an invisible statement. And I know that sounds like I'm full of myself, but it's also what feels true to me. It is an invisible statement that I'm not going to Vienna at all during Eurovision weeks, even though I could. It is now looking likely that I will go to Slovenia, to Ljubljana, for a charity concert for Palestine on the 15th of May, which will be a very nice alternative for me. Even better than an alternative, upgrade. But yeah, it's been difficult. One of the biggest questions that is still unanswered for me, it's basically answered, but there's a small room for the other answer, is whether to vote or not. This year, I am like 98.5% on the side of not. But there's a balance of morals, money, and statistics to be had. Obviously, you want to support the artists doing the right thing, especially those who had spoken out against Israel's participation when they could. But I also personally do not want to be giving any money to the EBU, and while officially I believe the voting money does currently go to the broadcasters if you are in most countries, it appears that the UK vote this year is money that's going to the EBU, not the BBC. And the rest of the world vote, obviously, as well. So maybe they still get a cut of it. I do not know how it works. And if there's any chance of any money going to the EBU, I don't want to do it. And there's also the statistics of how many people vote, which is important because Eurovision is a cultural institution and I work in a cultural institution. Very different kind of area, but still, statistics are so important, more important than money in a lot of cases, right? We've heard Christer Björkman say that Eurovision is in a sticky financial situation this year, but the statistics of how many people vote, even if people are voting from the cheapest countries to vote from, are important to Eurovision. I truly believe that. So I just don't think I can. And on the other hand, I want to prevent a landslide televote win for one country, but I also can't be this invested. I wish I wasn't, and hopefully I'm not going to be, but it's difficult. And apparently there are 2026 artists who are against Israel's participation, the representatives of two countries who I'm pretty certain indeed are, but they are still choosing to go and share a stage with Israel. And then there are representatives of other countries who I've heard are against Israel's participation, but only ever from secondhand sources. So I don't know whether to believe that. For full transparency, I did conduct an interview with one Eurovision 2026 contestant. It was short to respect their time because I knew that there was a chance that I wouldn't upload the interview. And that is indeed what happened. I did not upload the interview. Maybe it will see the light of day one day, but I currently do not foresee that being a possibility. I wanted to see how I feel with it. The answer is not good, and I asked non-Eurovision 2026 questions. I think they noticed, and it was overall a bit of a strange vibe, I think, or just the tiredness of a press event for them, I don't know. But I did it at Euro Rave Ball, the event that goes by at least 3 names: Euro Rave Ball, London Hagen, and London Eurovision Fundraiser. That was a truly pretty much perfect event for me. I got the chance to see how I feel about interviewing a 2026 contestant and seeing them perform various 2026 contestants. Yeah, not good. Even though they're great performers and I, to an extent, had fun, always left a bitter taste in my mouth. But they were relatively the minority of the performers at Euro Rave Ball, so I was able to enjoy basically everyone else's performances. I especially enjoyed that the artists were given the space to perform typically more than one song, particularly that Clement had such a long set and he really made the most of it, and that Marco got to be a bit of a host and chaotic in his personal, seemingly very authentic way. That was fun, and it was nice to see and speak with some of the artists who I'd missed in Basel or elsewhere. I do wish I'd gone in a bit better prepared, but the whole planning was so chaotic throughout that just getting what I did get is enough. And I also interviewed Vegetable PL the day before, which also impacted my ability to plan for the interviews at London Hagen or Euro Rave Ball. Anyway, if I do not quit Eurovision entirely next year, I fully intend to go to Euro Rave Ball again. It is a tiny chaotic event that is just really wonderful. I'm also fundamentally right now in this season of my life trying to deal with how do I deal with my morals in general, on the whole, on the worldwide lifestyle in general scale. Because I'm also vegan, I don't believe there's any need to be eating animals or animal products right now for humans. Obviously, not everything, not everywhere that I go is vegan. Like, I don't know, even airplane seats are made with leather or whatever. Not that I fly often, but train seats can be, or like the supermarkets I go to aren't vegan because there are no vegan supermarkets in the area. I do wish I could live in Berlin near the vegan Rewe, but I do not. And even then, it's still part of the Rewe company, which isn't vegan. So maybe this is just all having a much bigger effect on me than it otherwise would be if I wasn't dealing with that in general. But it's part of what I'm going through right now. Or I'm also testing various medications out, and not all of them are vegan, and I am just testing them. So how do I feel about that? I don't know. Especially because they're making me feel bad as well. I've been nauseous and never hungry and never satiated for a week straight from a non-vegan medication. So what do I do about that? All in all, this whole deliberation and seeing the Eurovision 2026 contest season happening and me actively choosing and in a way fighting with myself every day to not get actively involved has led to March being probably the worst month of my life emotionally. Don't worry about me, I'm fine. April was a lot better, especially with Euro Rave Ball, but not only that. The only proper highlight in March was truly the Ex-Eurovision Sounds concert, which I got invited to by Kat, so gracias Kat por salvar mi marzo. Even the Catharsis concert the day before, through a number of factors, including this Eurovision stuff, and many factors outside of the Catharsis band's control, I did not enjoy overall as much as I wish I would have done. So that Ex-Eurovision Sound concert was truly the highlight of my March, and like the only true definite peak. Also check out Ex-Eurovision Sound if you don't know about them. They're a really fun Spanish band, really love their energy live. In general, I do wish I was more casual about things. That is what you might be thinking right now. But I am fundamentally not. That is not who I am. I have never been casual about anything. So these are the consequences. I have to live with this. I have to live with these thoughts day in, day out. Since the 4th of December, basically. Except now a lot of things are actually actualizing, and I'm filming this video on the day that the first rehearsals start, which is also something that I would rather not know. I'd rather not know the information, but it's just unavoidable for me. Even still, a lot of the songs I did actually hear live for the first time. Yeah, live. I did not listen to them in the studio version or a YouTube performance or whatever. And I still don't have a top 35. I don't intend on making one. Top 35 is just wrong. There should be 39 countries at Eurovision this year. Or 38. Oh, Robin's purring directly into the microphone. I'm not sure if you could hear that. So, you may think, if it's causing me this much turmoil, why am I even still involved at all? The same thing would be to just cut it off completely, castratrize the wound. Can't do that. I'm staying with 1-2 in this naive but hopeful belief that Eurovision 2027 can be different. It can feel morally okay to me. Hopefully not by my morals sinking, but rather by Eurovision improving. If that is the case, I want to at least have an idea what happened in 2026. And that is also made much easier / impossible to avoid by all of these friends and acquaintances posting all the time. And they're doing good stuff. Like, objectively speaking, if you remove any context of Eurovision, they're making good content. But I just can't. I can't make Eurovision 2026 content. And I shouldn't, and I don't want to, but yeah, a lot of people are. All of this mess has led to some positives, though. I've had my first interview with a national final artist in Lusac. It was not a particularly great interview, but it is getting me to try out new things, right? And I've also had my first non-Eurovision artist interview, even though we did talk about Eurovision, and I was very impressed with their knowledge of the Eurovision ecosystem. Truly impressed. Vegetable PL. They're a really fun band from Poland. I've been hearing about them for years from an internet friend, and I'm pretty sure they were Jokerout's opener on their Sunny Side of London tour / See You Soon tour. See You Soon tour, I think it was called. And then they also played together on the 13th of July 2024, I want to say. Lato w mieście in Warszawa, as in one after the other, because it was like a mini festival thing. But I've now finally seen them live for the first time at the George Tavern in London, and wow, Adam can play guitar really well, and Franek is an incredible performer. What a duo. Their music live is so much fun, and I truly recommend you go see Vegetable PL if you ever get the chance. And their lyrics are just so absurd in the best way, and truly unique. So I think they'll appreciate me saying this. If you want to listen to a Polish version of Jos Klein, check out Vegetable PL. Józef Mały. And on a selfish me level, having that interview did give me confidence to see that I can do stuff like this even without the Eurovision context, and that was a truly good sign. I was telling my best friend that I met up with the day later, you are meeting me on a good day, because March was such a low, and after the Vegetable PL interview, I feel like I actually maybe can do interviews even without Eurovision, which is something I truly enjoy. Finding out more about artists and asking the questions that other people aren't asking, because I feel like a lot of the time in the Eurovision cycles it's the same questions being asked over and over again. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, and that can get boring for the artists, and I want them to have something out of the interview as well. But on the topic of interviews as well, I think it's fundamentally a bit strange just how abandoned the previous year's Eurovision artists get by Eurovision fan media. Not entirely. There are Eurovision after-show playlists and people go to their concerts sometimes, but just the amount of attention reduces so drastically. I find it so fascinating and so stark. And obviously, you will never be able to follow 300 artists at once, all of the artists that you even mildly enjoyed of the last 20 editions. In some artists' careers fizzle out sort of naturally, however hard that is to hear. But especially this year, it's felt very strange to see just how abandoned they are. And obviously I have seen it in the previous years, but this year it feels extra strange because, to me, we are still kind of in the Eurovision 2025 season. That's where I've stayed. So especially at Euro Rave Ball, to see how long the queues were for the 2026 artists and how there was basically no queues for the 2025 artists at times was interesting. But in general, these artists get truly very little to no support afterwards. And listen, I'm also imperfect. I'm not following every single artist that I really loved last year, but it's also giving me something to think about. And right here on this note as well, I also kind of want to mention the Eurovision live tour. What a mess! I am not a proponent of Schadenfreude, but this was some Schadenfreude that I could get behind. Immediately when they announced it, I was so confused. Why the big arenas? Why all in Western Europe? Why literally the biggest arenas in all of the cities? And then seeing them announce the icons, and while those acts do have importance in the Eurovision context, they are not exactly arena fillers by themselves or even collectively. It was, and I do feel slightly like a bad person for this, but in the most Schadenfreude way, it was wonderful to watch that train wreck. Even though I have lost a little bit of respect for Alessandro in the process, because why would you want to work with the Eurovision brand right now, even though you didn't stay a Norwegian spokesperson for the points in 2024? I understand morals change, the artists need money. It still felt strange, because now her name is kind of leaving me a bitter taste in my mouth after 3 years for nothing, because the tour is cancelled, obviously. So what does my future with Eurovision look like? It's a lot of question marks still. I am personally intending to keep re-evaluating until about November, December, barring world-shattering, earth-moving events in the next 2 weeks, which, who knows, but I'm not expecting them. It will be constant re-evaluation for me, and I have been saying that if it doesn't get better for the 2027 season, I will need to quit completely. I don't know how feasible that is, considering how much I enjoy the company of a lot of the people who are still in it. I don't want to be cutting off personal connections over this. I don't want to. But I will have to keep reevaluating what is feasible for me and for my sanity, because as I said at the start of the video, I do feel like I've been going insane with this a little bit. Like, I am betraying my morals every time I even think about it, or find any amount of enjoyment in it. Even though I also do want to be supporting the small artists who are going this year. I find it so difficult to know what the right thing for me to do is at any given moment. I understand that artists a lot of the time need a platform to go and find their audience. I would argue Eurovision is not that platform right now, because you are kind of dirtying up your name to me for the rest of eternity in doing that. And we'll see what happens in 2 to 3 to 4 weeks after Eurovision, and they're not under those strict contracts, how many of them are actually speaking up afterwards. But it still doesn't sit right with me to go and share a stage with Israel at this current point. And I'm now going to have to keep reevaluating things, because they're obviously going to go on tour. One tour at least has been announced already. And do I want to punish them and myself ad infinitum for going to Eurovision in 2026 when I myself was hypocritical enough to still follow the 2024 and 2025 contest very closely and create content about it, which I don't think is worse than participating. I think participating is giving more credence to the Eurovision brand, of course. But creating content is a different way of supporting it as well, that, in retrospect, I, in some ways, do feel guilty about and do regret. And in other ways, it led me to have wonderful experiences, and I never would have started interviews without it. And I don't know. As to whether or not I quit for the 2027 season, we will need to see what happens, what comes to fruition. I hope not. But if it truly stays the way it was this year, I think I'd have to keep my sanity and my morals. But I don't know if I can. I have actively abandoned a passion of mine in the past, in June 2020, if you can imagine what that might have been. And I don't really want to do it again. I've been trying to avoid it since December, or arguably even since October 2023, but that intellectual property still, just irks me every time I see it, and unfortunately I see it relatively often at work. Future-wise though, there is this When Glitter Feels Heavy series coming to YouTube livestream, I believe. I'm going to link it down below. I found it on Instagram and I'm going to be watching it for sure. Stuart and Harry, great as I watch, having a discussion, I think, today or tomorrow. There will definitely be some content that I'm watching. So I have just finished watching that. It's a lovely discussion. Highly recommend. They are so much more eloquent and just good with their words than I often am. So really recommend watching it. It's linked in the description. Go ahead and give it a watch, because they put it in such precise ways and just really express themselves really well. And then there's also Belgium and Slovenia and Vienna, who are all organising fundraiser concerts, to the best of my knowledge. Didn't look into them fully, at various points relevant to the Eurovision week. Belgium is doing theirs with past Eurovision artists on the 12th of May, which is the day of the first live show, and Slovenia and Solidarity United is the event in Vienna, which I will also be linking down below, their Instagram at least, on the 15th of May. I personally can't even stomach going to Vienna, but I do believe I will be going to Slovenia for the Ena Dva Svetova, I think that's what it's called, concert. And then upcoming for me, as I say, I feel guilty enjoying anything that has anything to do with Eurovision, even if it's from before 2024, the 2024 Eurovision edition. But I am going to Eurodisco in Finland, my first time in Finland, and then Joe Kraut's show the day after, and also Carnival, Joe Kraut's 10-year big anniversary show. If you are not going yet, I truly recommend you do. Slovenia is a beautiful country, very underrated on the world scale, and I can't wait to see what Joe Kraut put on for us. There'll be an opening band, that's a small band from Slovenia. There will be loads of special guests. I'm not sure if they'll be performing or not, but they will be there. and there'll be a circus, and Karia is obviously also performing there. It's his first time performing in Slovenia, so definitely going to Eurodisco and Carnival. And I'm gonna go to some other individual concerts. I really enjoyed Baby Lasagna's newest single, And the Party. He is now teasing a second one off of this new album, so I imagine I'll be at his show in Hamburg. I'm almost certain. I've got my ticket. There'll be other tours I'm sure I go to come winter time. Het Groot Festivalfest. Sorry for my Dutch. I imagine I will be at, but that will also still be under constant reevaluation. I do have a ticket, which I'll try and resell if I'm not going, but I intend to go right now. And Eurofesta is teasing that there might be a second edition, so if there is, I will also be heavily looking into that, if I'm not quit Eurovision entirely by that point, because I love Italy and I love these smaller Eurovision events. They seem like an alright compromise, even despite everything that's going on. I did have a lot of cries at Eurofesta 2025, because it felt like it might be my last Eurovision event, which would have been somewhat poetic, finishing almost where I started in Torino. But if I've not quit Eurovision entirely, I'm definitely going. And the next year, Euro Rave Ball, for sure, if I'm still in it. At least that much. The dangerous thing I realised about going to Eurodisco is, should the bookies' favourites currently win, I'll be in that country a week after they did so. Which will be very interesting emotions-wise if it comes true, but we'll see what happens. I spoke about Euro Rave Ball quite a bit in this video, and in order to try and immortalise it a little bit, I've got a hidden Euro Rave Ball fun moments video for you here, if you want to hear what made it that extra little bit special. And other than that, that was my messy rambly video about what it feels like to be an ex-Eurovision fan currently. I don't feel like Eurovision fan is the best way to describe it. It's more like cautiously waiting it out Eurovision enthusiast who has also become media very quickly. But I feel like ex-Eurovision fan is a better title and thumbnail. But please do leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I want to hear from other people, if you are going to Vienna, if you're not, what it feels like. Because I don't think that it feels truly normal to anyone, or almost anyone. And I realised that this video in some way is giving attention to the Eurovision brand, which is something I set out to not do this year. But you can hear that it's negative attention throughout the video, so some might say any publicity is good publicity. I'm saying I want this moment and emotions documented for myself. So that's where I'm at. But tell me what you're feeling down in the comments below, whether you're going to Vienna or not, whether you're going to any of the events in Belgium or Slovenia or Solidarity United, what you're excited for there, whether you're even able to listen to old Eurovision songs right now, like I'm sort of struggling with. And not even just Eurovision songs, any songs from those artists. It certainly feels strange. I'm not listening to the songs, I do. But there are moments where I catch myself and I think, this does feel strange. And I wish it wasn't like that right now, but it is. Yeah, that is all very full of myself and probably not very typical for the majority of the population, but that's where I'm at. So maybe other people are feeling that too and want to discuss in the comments. So please do use the comment section if you feel like writing anything at all down there. I'm interested to see it, even if it's hate. I'm interested to see what people actually concretely have to say about this topic. So thank you ever so much for watching this video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it or found some comfort in it at least. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed my style of rambling and want to see more videos about at least European music coming up in the near future, or just my thoughts in general. And maybe remember to give this video a like if you liked it. I don't know, share it with someone else who might want to watch it as well. And I will see you in the next one, whether that shows up on your feed. Bye! Robin! Okay, right. Robin is now in the flags. Flag cat. Have fun. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a comfortable space for you. I figured. Exactly.